Have you ever been searching for Nessie sightings on YouTube and come across videos claiming to show crystal clear, 100% authentic footage of the monster, but when you click on them, you can't help but wonder what acclaimed filmmaker Verner Hertzog is doing on the boat?
Well, I can answer that question for you. It's because these clips are actually taken from Incident at Loch Ness, a movie which I'm surprised nobody remembers. Or at least that's how it seems.
Many are the times I've seen someone lamenting the lack of good Nessie movies, or the lack of giant monsters in the found footage genre, and when I mention this movie, the response is always either, "Oh, I still haven't seen that one," or, "What?" Granted, Incident at Loch Ness was released with little fanfare, but I'm stunned that in all this time it hasn't garnered much of a following, and absolutely no one is talking about it.
That needs to change, and I'm here to make that change happen. Whether you're interested in cryptozoology or just good monster movies, Incident at Loch Ness is a movie that needs to be on your radar.
The film is one part found footage and one part mockumentary, with a film crew making a documentary following around a film crew making a documentary.
No, I'm not playing the Inception music.
The first crew we're following is documenting a historic matchup in Hollywood. Screenwriter Zac Penn and director Verner Hertzog are collaborating on a new documentary about the Loch Ness Monster, which will take them directly onto the legendary lake. With a small crew on a modest boat, they set out to chronicle what they find. Tensions start to rise, however, as it becomes apparent that Hertzog and Penn have different visions for what sort of movie they're making, though this becomes the least of their problems when Nessie herself starts hunting the boat. From here on out, I'm going into spoiler territory for my analysis, so if you want to see the movie first, as you should anyway, pause here and come back later. Otherwise, we're going in.
So first, allow me to shatter the illusion. Most of Incident at Loch Ness is staged. Very little of what you see in the film is real. Though back in 2004, the people who saw it were fooled, and people who see clips out of context today sometimes still are. But much like professional wrestling, just because it's staged doesn't mean it's bad.
In fact, the film's ability to fool people speaks to the level of effort that went into making it. The cast and crew were completely devoted to making Incident at Loch Ness feel as authentic as possible, and that effort shows in every frame.
Sure, in this day and age when found footage has gone mainstream, it's much easier to recognize the storytelling beats and peg it as fiction. But that shouldn't detract from the effort that went into making it.
Heck, the effort to maintain the illusion even went into production of the DVD. The audio commentary is done in character to provide consistency with the film, and none of the advertised special features betray a thing.
To get to the truth, you need to search for the Easter eggs that are hidden on the special features menu, which include behind-the-scenes shots of the Nessie props and the actual behind-the-scenes documentary. That's commitment right there, folks. Not to mention that having to search for the truth is fitting for the subject matter.
This commitment to authenticity is enhanced by the restrained depiction of Nessie herself. All we ever see of the old girl are glimpses, just enough to give us a sense of what she looks like while still keeping a sense of mystery around her. The closest we ever get to a full reveal, a money shot if you will, is an extreme close-up in which she fills the camera's field of vision and thus, ironically, still remains obscured.
Interestingly, the production team never settled on an official design for Nessie. They constructed various pieces of practical props that looked like they could be part of the same creature, but never officially settled on what Nessie would look like in her entirety.
This proved to be a great boon for the actors, since it means they genuinely never knew exactly what they were looking at either. We don't know if this Nessie is prehistoric, mutated, or even supernatural. All we know is that she's a monster, and this take just might be the most effective one yet committed to film. At least as far as fiction goes.
In typical found footage fashion, she's the unexpected threat to what was meant to be a routine filming experience. Or is she? This is where things get complicated.
From the very beginning, it's clear that, in-universe, Verner Hertzog and Zac Penn don't get along, and have different visions of how their film within a film should go. Hertzog wants to make a serious documentary that fits his perspective. For the film's purposes, he is skeptical and wants to make a film about why people believe in something as outlandish as the Loch Ness Monster. Penn, however, wants to make something with more spectacle, the kind of lavish production that will draw in the crowds by dazzling the eyes.
Hang on. Perhaps I should provide a bit of context for our two lead players, since they are essentially playing themselves, and they hail from two very different worlds.
By 2004, Verner Hertzog was considered a legend in the realm of avant-garde and documentary filmmaking. Since most of his work originated in Germany, he wasn't necessarily well known to mainstream audiences in America, but anyone who immersed themselves in world cinema knew his name. You might also have known him if you were a horror fan, as he directed the remake of Nosferatu. In his youth, he was the aspiring filmmaker who wanted to work with the Titans, and then he became a Titan in his own right, known especially for his intense style of filmmaking, which often led to him pushing his casts and crews to do outlandish things. He was and still is considered an auteur, a true master of cinema. By contrast, Zac Penn came from the world of blockbuster Hollywood. In 2004, he was one of the industry's biggest screenwriters, having just penned, if you'll pardon the term, the first two X-Men films that helped solidify superhero movies as a Hollywood mainstay. However, his success came with compromise. Penn's early drafts of X-Men included elements that would have kickstarted the Marvel Cinematic Universe 10 years early, but neither Fox nor Marvel were interested in this at the time. Oh, how different things might have been. But anyway, Penn was in a weird position where he was a household name, yet he had little control over the works he was famous for. After all, he didn't direct any of the movies he wrote.
In Incident at Loch Ness, we see him vent this frustration and simultaneously learn why he's producing this film. Because just for once, he wants to be in charge.
One of the reasons why I've shifted into producing. I'm sick of being in the background. I'm sick of not having any say, of being pushed around. Well, you say, here's what I want. Fire that writer.
Well, I did say the movie was mostly staged, which means some of it isn't. There was a lot of improvisation in the film that stemmed from real life, and I'm willing to bet that little venting session was one of them.
So this is why Penn and Hertzog wind up clashing the way they do. Hertzog wants to capture real life as he perceives it, and Penn wants to capture spectacle as he perceives it. To that end, Penn hires a bunch of actors to play roles without telling Hertzog that they're actors. When he's called out on this, though, he blames it on Hertzog for telling him to find people who don't exist in real life anyway. It's the classic battle of the artist against the industry playing on a world-famous Scottish lake.
That would all seem to become moot once Nessie attacks, but there are a few dangling threads that raise the question of what's really going on.
Before the team heads to Bonnie, Scotland, the documentary crew filming the documentary crew, man that's a trick to describe in summary, catches Zac Penn talking to someone about making, well, something for the film, and he doesn't want Verner Hertzog to know about it. The payoff would seem to come early on when he presents us with this cheesy Nessie prop that he wants Hertzog to shoot, though Hertzog refuses. But if you pay close enough attention, you'll notice the plans for the mystery object show measurements much bigger than the comparatively small prop.
Then when he sees the extreme close-up of Nessie shot when Hertzog tried swimming to shore, he says this when he thinks no one's listening. This leaves us with a lingering mystery hanging over the film.
Is Penn happy with the footage because it's proof of what happened? Is he happy because it adds that bit of spectacle that he wanted? Or is he happy because this was his master plan? But what the heck even was his plan? If he somehow faked Nessie for the documentary, how did he pull it off without the others noticing? For heaven's sake, people died! We know he tried to stage certain things, but if he staged everything, he could be tried for murder. So is he really the sort who would kill for the sake of getting a perfect shot? In the end, we leave the film uncertain if anything we just saw was meant to be genuine, even within the context of the movie's reality. No single answer makes total sense when weighed against the evidence.
Unlike your average J.J. Abrams mystery box, however, this open-ended conclusion to a mystery with no real payoff is executed much better. In this case, we're meant to draw our own conclusions as to what really happened.
Whether this was a genuine Nessie attack or a case of Hollywood filmmaking gone horribly wrong depends on what details we think are the most important. In a way, this can also be said of the real Loch Ness Monster mystery, which still has yet to be definitively solved since the evidence is open to a wide variety of interpretations.
Ultimately, Incident at Loch Ness is enigmatic by design, and that makes it fascinating to watch. I still can't believe this movie fell off people's radar the way it did, but hopefully it gains the audience it deserves one day. Much like Loch Ness itself, there's a lot going on beneath the surface, and its depths are worth exploring to anyone who's curious. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer, signing off. Now, isn't that just a face only a mother could love?
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.